students, welcome back. So in the previous video we have learned about certain methods of separation of mixtures, that is various impurities, how they can be removed from the mixtures. Now we have already learned about the mechanical separation or hand picking, then magnetic separation, gravitational separation, filtration, sedimentation and decantation. So 5 methods we have already started in our previous video. Today we will start with the next method of separation of the mixture. So our next method of separation we begin with, that is the sixth method, is sublimation. Sublimation. Now what is sublimation? First of all, let us understand what is sublimation. Sublimation is a process where a solid, so we can say is a process in which when a solid, when we heat it, when a solid has been heated, it is supposed to go, a solid when it has been heated is supposed to go to the liquid state, but it will not go to the intermediate liquid state, but it directly changes into the vapor state or into the gaseous state. It changes into the gaseous state or into the vapor state. We can write down over here that is into the gaseous state, or it changes into the vapors. So this process where a solid when it has been heated, it changes directly into the gaseous state without going into the intermediate liquid state. Such a process we call it as sublimation. So this method of separation, it can be employed when your one of the component, there is a component that you have to separate, is a sublimable substance. So this method is employed when the component to be separated is sublimable. So what we do, suppose if we are having a mixture of, so first let us just go through the outline of this process. How that is, we take a solid and we heat it. When we heat it, we will be getting the vapors of that solid. Now these vapors, when we are cooling it further, when we cool these vapors, or when the vapors are being cooled further, we can pack this solid. So we get our solid back. Okay, or we can just also see in this way, that is when we can show it in a reversible arrow also, that is when it has been cooled, we get our solid back. So this process, we call this as a process of sublimation. We can represent it in this way, that is sublimation. That is change of a solid on heating directly to the gaseous state or to the vapor, or getting converted into the vapors. That is called as the sublimation. And when we cool these vapors, again we get our solid back. So this is what is the process of sublimation. So here when we say that the substance should be sublimable, let us take an example of a sublimable substance. Let us see how this process can be done. So ammonium chloride is one of the substances which is sublimable. So look here, we have taken a mixture of ammonium chloride. Look here, this is ammonium chloride, a mixture of ammonium chloride and common salt. Common salt is nothing but is sodium chloride. So what we have done over here, we have taken this is a porcelain dish that we have taken. Into this porcelain dish, this blue colored particle, that is our representation for ammonium chloride, and over here there is a sodium chloride. Both of them, they have been mixed together. When we heat it, ammonium chloride being a sublimable substance, it will form the vapors. Now these vapors, it moves, these vapors will move up to this funnel. So here what we have done, that is we have taken an evaporating dish over here, and this evaporating dish we have covered it with a funnel over here. And the mouth, that is the stem of the funnel, that has been closed with the help of a cotton. So this has been closed with the help of cotton. Now why we are closing it with the help of cotton? So that the vapors which have been formed, these vapors should not be escaping. And this is our wire gauge. This is the regular Bunsen burner that we use into the laboratory. This is the stand that we are using for this. So, or we can call this is a tripod stand we can use over here. Alright, so we can show it over here. There is one more. one more support over here that we can give over here. So this is our regular tripod stand with which we have given the support to this. Okay. So when we heat over here, what will happen? These vapors will be formed. These vapors will be coming to this funnel which has been inverted over this evaporating dish. So these vapors, now this particular part, there is a part which is at the bottom, this is very hot, but at the top this part will not be very much hot. So these vapors will come over here and these vapors will be condensing. So these vapors will be condensing on this particular part, on the top portion of the funnel. That is this portion of the funnel. Here you will be able to see some condensation of the vapors. Some vapors will be, that is the vapors will be coming over here and they get cooled over here, and when the vapors get cooled, all of us know that it undergoes the process of condensation. So the vapors will be getting condensed over here. That means from the vapors we get our solid back. As I told you that when it is cooled we get our solid back. So on this particular portion the solid will get our solid back, and what can we do once this whole process has been done? You just take off this funnel and with the help of a knife or with a spatula you can scrap off this solid from here. So we get our solid, that is ammonium chloride, back over here, and the common salt remains back into this porcelain dish. So this is how sublimation it can be done. Now various other substances are also sublimable, like if you have a mixture of sand and iodine. So other substances which can be separated by this method of sublimation, there is mixture of sand plus iodine, then ammonium chloride and sodium chloride. I already gave you NH4Cl plus NaCl. These can be separated by sublimation. Similarly, if you have a mixture of camphor, it can be mixed with sand or with common salt. Camphor is also sublimable. Camphor, iodine I have already given with the sand. Or we can have over here, there is naphthalene. Now what is naphthalene? Those white balls, white colored balls which we keep with our clothes so that the clothes should not be getting destroyed by moths or any insects. Those white colored balls, that is called as the naphthalene balls. So all these substances are sublimable. All these can be, that is if these substances are mixed with some impurities, then we can separate them by the process of sublimation. Okay, we move on to our next method of separation. So let me rub off the board first. So next method, that is our seventh method of separation, is solvent extraction. Alright, so this method is employed. This method can be used only when one of the components, that is suppose if you are having two components present, two components are such that one of the component is soluble in a particular solvent, but the other component is insoluble, other component is not soluble. So this method it is employed, or when this process of separation is used. I am just writing down in short. So this process is used when one of the component is soluble in a particular solvent, or water. Solvent can be any solvent. It can be an organic solvent such as the carbon disulfide or ethyl alcohol. Those are the organic solvents. Or we can take water as one of the solvent. So one of the component is soluble in a particular solvent and the other component is insoluble. And the other component remains insoluble. That is, other component is not soluble in that particular solvent, then we can employ this method of solvent extraction. Let me give an example. For example, suppose if you have a mixture of our common salt again. So common salt, the formula for common salt is that is NaCl, that is sodium chloride plus calcium carbonate. If we are having this mixture, now look here, both these components, suppose if we take water as a solvent, okay, so let's just take water which is acting as a solvent. Alright, water is acting as a solvent. We add water to both these components. What will happen? This sodium chloride, I'm just showing over here, is soluble in water. Whereas calcium carbonate, look here, calcium carbonate remains insoluble. So what will happen? Calcium carbonate will settle at the bottom of the beaker or the bottom of the container, and sodium chloride, that is your common salt, the salt that we eat in our food, that will be soluble into water. So what can we do? Look here, I have just drawn over here. Suppose this is a beaker containing sodium chloride and calcium carbonate, that is common salt and calcium carbonate. So calcium carbonate I have represented with red particles, and this blue colored particles, that is what? Salt has been mixed into water. So this blue lines represents the water in which salt has got dissolved. So calcium carbonate will remain over here at the bottom of the container, where this solution, that is this water, it contains what? Sodium chloride, which is completely soluble. Now what can we do? We just leave it undisturbed for some time. And what is that process? Where we leave it container undisturbed for some time so that the solid particles settle down. That is that process, we call that as the process of our sedimentation. So we can sediment it, we can allow it to sediment, and then slowly what we'll do, you take another beaker. I'm showing over here, another beaker can be taken, and slowly with the help of a glass rod, that is as I've shown you in the previous videos also, with the help of a glass rod, you take a glass rod, with the help of a glass rod, you just pour down this supernatant liquid, the upper liquid containing sodium chloride, into this. So we are having over here our sodium chloride into another beaker. So this contains what? This will be having NaCl, that is sodium chloride plus water. Okay. After this, what can we do? We can this is a glass rod which is helpful for pouring down this liquid. I've been telling you again and again why we use a glass rod. When you are pouring this, you take this beaker, and with the help of this glass rod, this water will trickle down through the glass rod, so that no liquid will fall down. That is, no liquid will fall outside this beaker. That is why we are using a glass rod over here. So these are certain tricks that we use while walking into the chemistry lab. So this is so while drawing also, in the exam also, we can show the glass rod over here always. So here slowly, first of all, we allow it to sediment down, that is sedimentation is taking place, and then we decant this upper supernatant liquid over here. So here we have collected our sodium chloride and water. Next, what can you do? You can just simply, you take one evaporating dish, okay, and into the evaporating dish, or this dish has already been drawn over here. Let me just make some changes over here. So this will be, so this is our evaporating dish, and into the evaporating dish we have added mixture of this mixture, that is sodium chloride and water. So I am showing it over here. We have added this. So this evaporating dish, it contains mixture of sodium chloride plus water, that is our H2O. So what will happen, and here this another container which I have kept over here at the bottom. So this is the sand particles. We have taken a dish, metal disc which contains these sand particles. Now why we have taken this metal container having the sand particles? Now this type of arrangement, when you are heating something over sand, this is called as the sand bath. So let me just, this is called as the sand bath. Sand bath does not mean that you take some sand and you pour over it and you take bath with it. No. Here in the chemistry lab, when you heat certain things, no, those apparatus which are made up of glass, those apparatus are very delicate. So suppose directly I could have heated this into the evaporating dish directly, it could have been heated. But then there are chances. I am not saying that always it will break. Not always, but we should always be careful. We should take certain precautions. This dish, it can break, being made up of glass. If it is not of a good quality also, even then it breaks. So what we do, we take another container. It is a sort of a metal container, metal plates sort of thing is there, into which we keep some sand. So over the, first we keep the wire gauge, over the wire gauge we keep this sand bath, or directly also the sand bath, it can be kept over here, and then we heat it, and into this, onto this sand bath, we are keeping this evaporating dish containing our required mixture. So required, that is our mixture is what? Sodium chloride and water. So what will happen? Water will be evaporating out, alright, and sand will be left behind. So in this way, we can separate our components. That is when, so this method is solvent extract. So you can see over here, we have recovered what? Into this container we get what? We get our calcium carbonate. So we have recovered our calcium carbonate into this container, because at the end we are pouring it over here, so calcium carbonate is recovered over here, and when you are the decantation and sedimentation decantation goes off, so here only calcium carbonate will be remaining. So we have recovered our calcium carbonate, and in this particular place what we will be getting? We will be getting our sodium chloride, that is our common salt back, and what is going into the atmosphere, that is water will be getting evaporated. So in this way we can separate both these components. So this method, it can be employed when there are components are such that one of the component is soluble in a particular solvent and the other component is insoluble. That is sodium chloride was soluble into water, where water is acting as a solvent, and calcium carbonate remains insoluble. Only then the solvent extraction it can be done. Now there are various solvents which can be used for extraction of various components. So let me just give you a list of certain substances. So I'll just rub it off, because I'll be needing probably this note over here. So various substances and these solvents that I'll rub this particular part also. So let me utilize this portion also. So various substances and the solvents into which they are soluble. So if we know that for which substance which solvent is suitable, we can adopt this method very easily. We should be having some basic idea, some basic knowledge that which type of substance is soluble in which type or what type of solvent. So here let us take the first example of a substance, let us take, that is sulfur. So a good solvent for sulfur is carbon disulfide. Formula for carbon disulfide, that is CS2. Okay. Our next component is paint. Paint is soluble in what? We all of us, we might be having some idea at least paint, because we very often we get our house painted and we use this component. So the solvent for paint is turpentine oil. Okay. Our next component is rust. And to remove rust, rust can be removed by the rust is soluble in oxalic acid. Sometimes you see your clothes get stained by use of rust or something. Some surface has got stained by any material has got stained because of rust. You can use a solution of oxalic acid and you will find at least things will become much better as to the prior case. That is, before applying of the oxalic acid, like the stains which are very dark, the dark stain can be made can be made lighter by use of the oxalic acid. Next we have the rubber, and a good solvent for rubber is your benzene. Rubber is soluble into benzene. Benzene is a very good solvent for rubber. Next, nail polish. Nail polish. Yes, I hope everybody knows, especially the girls. They might, at least I expect the girls to be knowing it because we use it very often. What is that substance? That is acetone. What do we do? Nail polish. We take that acetone into a cotton ball and we just rub over our nails and we find that the nail polish gets removed. Why? Because acetone is a very good solvent for the nail polish. Every time we we want to change our nail polish color according to our clothes. What do? We get that bottle, that colorless liquid is nothing but contains the acetone. So you take some acetone into a cotton ball and you just rub it over your nails, your nail polish gets removed and then you can apply another nail polish over it, another color over here. Next is niter. Niter, which is also called as potassium nitrate. Okay, so what is the solvent for potassium nitrate? A good solvent for niter or potassium nitrate is water. It is soluble into water. Next is grease. If some surface has got grease, so we can remove it by use of petrol. Okay. Our next solvent is iodine. I'm writing down over here. I think, one more I can write down over here. Our next solvent is iodine. And a good solvent for iodine is ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol. Formula for ethyl alcohol, C2H5OH. Okay. And acetone is what? CH3COCH3. Benzene C6H6. Okay. Next, so 9th one I'm writing down over here. There is our 9th, there is chlorophyll. 9th substance, that is chlorophyll. And a good solvent for chlorophyll is methylated spirit. Methylated spirit. Okay, so in this way, by the use of these different solvents, so here this you can write down over here substance, and these are the solvents. So by the use of these various solvents, the process of separation can be done. See that you learn the names of these substances along with the solvents. You should be knowing which substance is soluble in what. So see that you learn this. Alright. We move on to our next method, that is by the method of fractional crystallization. So I'll rub off everything from here. So that was our, I think, eighth method, that is by fractional crystallization. Okay, this method is employed when the solubility of two different components is different into a particular solvent. So we can say when solubility of two components of a mixture is different into the same solvent, then this method it can be employed. So we can say when solubility of two or more components, let's take two components, and the solubility of two components is different in a particular solvent, then we can employ this method, then only this method it can be used. Now let us take, that is for example, mixture of sodium chloride and nitre, that is potassium nitrate. Nitre is also KNO3. If we are having a mixture of sodium chloride and potassium nitrate, let's take a good solvent. Water is a very good solvent, and just some time back I told you that a good solvent for potassium nitrate, that is nitre, is water. So we add water to this. Okay, water is acting as a solvent over here. So what is happening over here, that is sodium chloride. Let me show here that sodium chloride is less soluble. Let me write down over here. Sodium chloride is less soluble, and this is less soluble in water. This is more soluble in water. More soluble in water. Okay, water is acting as a solvent for both of them, where potassium nitrate is more soluble and sodium chloride is less soluble. So if this is more soluble, obviously the solubility of potassium nitrate is more. It will be easily soluble. What you do is that to this both the components you add water and you heat this solution. So when you are heating it, look here, you heat it, this solubility being more, it will be easily soluble in water. Water will take up more of potassium nitrate as you are heating it. And after heating it, so here both the components are getting soluble, both will be soluble. So we can write down over here, both will be soluble, but solubility of KNO3, that is potassium nitrate, is more. So this will be more soluble, easily soluble. First it will be soluble. So obviously the water will take up more crystals of potassium nitrate. The water will be having more crystals of potassium nitrate over here. And when you cool this, let us just see, when we cool it, obviously because this was more soluble, on cooling we will be getting the crystals of potassium nitrate back. Crystals of potassium nitrate we will be recovering back over here, we will be getting back over here. Okay, now once you get some few crystals of potassium nitrate, what you do, you again take that solution. That is the solution, water containing potassium nitrate and water containing sodium chloride and potassium nitrate. Again you take that solution, the remaining solution, again you heat it and you cool it, you will be getting more crystals of potassium nitrate. So same procedure, you repeat it for some few number of times to recover the most of the potassium nitrate. So we will be getting the crystals of potassium nitrate. In this way potassium nitrate can be recovered, and whatever the some few crystals of sodium chloride will be left behind over there. So in this way the two components, it can be separated out. Our next method of separation that for today's class, that is whatever that I plan to discuss with you, is the method of evaporation. So ninth method, that is evaporation. Now this method is very simple. All of you are very much familiar with this method of separation. We generally see this at home also. By heating certain things, we find that the liquid gets evaporated evaporated and the solid remains behind. So this process is a method of conversion of a, let us suppose a solid is being dissolved into a liquid. So if you are having a mixture of solid plus liquid, what will happen when you heat it? When we heat it, this liquid will get evaporated, that vapors of liquid will be formed, vapors of liquid will be formed, and we find the liquid will get I'm just showing it over there, this liquid gets evaporated. Liquid gets evaporated. What remains behind? Leaving behind the solid. Okay. Can you get any example of this particular very familiar example? Suppose if you are having a mixture of common salt, that is sodium chloride, the salt that we use in our food, plus water. So same thing I have shown over here. If you are having a mixture of common salt and water, you can take in the industries they have those big containers, and here in the laboratory we are using small apparatus. Over here we are using an evaporating dish. We did not bother how people are doing it in the industries and all. Let's know about what we do in the chemistry lab. So we take an evaporating dish, and once again we pour out this mixture over here. That is the mixture containing sodium chloride and water. We can heat it directly also. There is no hard and fast rule as such. If you feel that your apparatus may break, may crack down, you may use a sand bath, or simply by placing it over a wire gauge. Now this is the wire gauge. There is a mesh made up of wire. It protects all this arrangement is just made to protect our apparatus from breaking, from cracking. So you can just directly keep this porcelain, the evaporating dish or the porcelain dish directly over the wire gauge, and you can heat it. Or to be on the safer side, if you are a person who is very careful, so you can take a sand bath over here and you can heat this solution of water and common salt over here. The only thing is that if you are heating over the sand bath, it will take a long time for that liquid to get evaporated. If you are not using a sand bath, then the process gets done very fast. I remember when I was a student, we were supposed to use the sand bath, but whenever I used to get late while doing my practicals, I used to be careful. Of course, I used to take care that my apparatus should not break, and I used to heat it directly so that my process gets done faster. So, but we can do it, but the thing is that we have to be a bit careful about it. So, this is how, what will happen? Water will be evaporated, water will be escaping as the vapors, and you will be getting your common salt will be left behind. Again, you can collect this common salt from this evaporating dish, which is made up of porcelain. So we also call this as a porcelain dish. So in this way, the substance, it can be recovered. There is a substance. The mixtures, the components of the mixtures, they can be separated by use of certain methods. So there are various other methods also which I will be discussing with you in the next video. See that by the time you will be thorough with all these methods. Thank you, students.